Hi, everyone. How are you? My name is
Hey,
Shirley, and this is Pastor Daryl Farrar.
hi everybody.
I'm coming to you from Encouragement on Fire.
A remote location.
Yes, yes. I am so thankful. We are coming to you from Houston, Texas, as you can
Yes.
see behind me. This is actually our good friends from Houston, Texas. And I just want to give them a shout out right now.
To the Millers.
Yes, Charles Miller and Dr. Carolyn Miller. Thank you guys so much for opening up
Yes.
your homes to us. Always,
Mhm.
whenever we need rest, you're always there and available to
Amen.
provide us that rest.
Well, we're
And
finding out now that's
yes,
that's their ministry.
that
to,
is
to
their
pastors
ministry.
to
Yes.
give them rest.
And we are so thankful
Yeah.
for you. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yes.
We also want to thank, we, everybody knows that I went through recently cancer, and I am on the other side. God has brought me through. And I just want to give a shout out also to some of the pastors through Carolyn and Charles, Pastor Scott and Tina Thomas. Thank you so
Amen.
much, you
Amen.
guys, for praying for me
Didn't even
and
know
for
her.
my husband.
Yes.
Yes. In our process, because if it had not been for many of the prayers of people like you from far around, and we were talking earlier with a few individuals, we were just saying how, because people are praying all over the world for individuals, we make it through, and all of the faith connected together, God is in the middle of it, and
Amen.
he is just so, he's happy when we're praying together and doing his word. So we just want to say thank you so much. And for everyone that is tuning in, and if you're tuning in months down the line and you are thinking about, well, what is this all about? The purpose of this particular podcast is because I went through cancer, I came out on the other side, and I want to tell you the importance of faith and the research. A lot of times we're only concerned about, well, I'm praying, I'm praying, I'm praying. But the Bible clearly tells us faith without works is dead. And so it's really important that we're doing that. I'm going to turn the mic up just a little bit. Okay, all right.
Don't turn it up a whole lot.
I won't turn it up too much. I'll put it down. There
There
you
you
go. All right. So, I also want to tell you about the title today. So if you are tuning in, the title today we're talking about is discussing ovarian cancer statistics, early warning signs, when to see a doctor, how to identify for certain if you have it, and once a person is diagnosed by an oncologist specialist, which is important, what should you do next? Now, we have talked about so many different types of cancers, and we're going to keep talking about different ones and the things that you really should be aware of. And, early warning signs is what you really need to focus on, as well as pre-screening. So it's really important. And remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm only telling you about my particular experience in what I went through, and also those that come on the podcast.
Right.
If they're professionals, we are having professionals come on and they're talking about different things. We had Dr. Fatisha Andrews. We're going to have, hopefully, Dr. Carolyn Miller, who is a psychiatrist. She's going to talk also about the other side of the mental part. So we're going to have different people on, but the focus is definitely the balance,
Right.
Faith and research.
And shout out to our brother-in-law, your brother.
Yes.
Who's home right now.
Yes, my mom and Elder Cynthia, and my brother Jesse Scott,
who had cancer.
Yes,
But we didn't know.
Yes, and I talked about it in another podcast about it, but I want him to share his story when he's ready. So he definitely, I'm pretty sure he's going to be willing to do that in the future, but we're going to let him do it in his timing. So today we're going to talk. Remember, we always start with faith and research. So the research today is based off of the mayoclinic.org. So many people go there, you get your research information. And I still encourage you, always follow the research, because that is the given. Not saying that things aren't certain, because a lot of times we say, well, I believe, and that's fine. The problem is, you have to make certain that that is what is the truth. So I want to talk about some of the statistics. Some of the statistics is when ovarian cancer first develops, it may not come to light. You may not even know you have it. You may not even have symptoms right away. So you have to think about always going to get what? Pre-screening, all of your your checkups with the doctor, if you're yearly doing your checkups with the doctor, then the doctor can be able to tell you something's going on, or your blood work. How many of you have been having your blood work done at least once a year?
Right.
If you haven't done it once a year, at least once every 2 years. I know some of you are saying, I haven't had it done at all. Well, you need to get out there and you need to do your blood work.
Mm-hmm.
I would say as you're getting older, you need to do it at least one
Mm-hmm.
time a year,
Mm-hmm.
because the doctors are looking at certain measurements and levels and different things. And especially if you have symptoms, remember, they're always going to diagnose you off of your symptoms.
Well, that's how Pastor Brian Fox.
Right, exactly, because of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, he didn't have any symptoms. They're looking at his levels first. And
they were looking at his level, because he went for a regular checkup, which he
does all the
time. But see, everybody doesn't do that. And so we're encouraging you today to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's keep moving along. So keep in mind that this affects over 22,000 American women this year alone, annually. Okay, so everything I'm telling you is from either the Mayo Clinic or some of the other research that we've been gathering, but it affects every single year. And the only way that, well, other than faith, because we still believe that, you know, God heals, they would do surgery or they would do chemotherapy on individuals that have had ovarian cancer, and that's how they come out of it. So, you know, let's talk about some of the symptoms as we're talking about statistics as well. Some of the symptoms that individuals or women are having is the pelvic or, you know, the inflamed abdomen, pain and cramping. Now, I went through cramping myself. I didn't have this particular cancer, but I went through cramping. So not necessarily just because you're going through cramping, is this actually happening to you? Right. But you still need to, like the previous doctor told us, Dr. Tisha Andrews, she told you have to make sure that every day, if you're having symptoms of any kind, you should be writing it down on paper and putting on there the date, the hour that it happened. Because if something or symptom is happening more often, more frequent, you really need to address it with your doctor. Now, if it's something that's happened once a year, twice a year, once a month, it may not be something of an emergency. However, you really should at least keep a tally of it on some paper. Another one of the symptoms that they're saying, you know, feeling full, you know, you're eating and all of a sudden you're feeling full. And it's happening all the time. So, you know, we're not talking about, oh, I'm just full, you know, because sometimes I think they even put certain, what is it, MSG, or they put certain things in the foods. Right. Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you're eating a salad, you're taking a few bites out of it, and you're like, whew, I'm full. And that's happening all the time. Right. So you should be mindful of that. Also, indigestion, upset stomach. Now, I get upset stomachs too, but mine comes because I eat milk. Okay, so some people after the age of 30, you have to take Lactaid, you have to drink almond milk, you know. So we're not saying to you all of these symptoms are reasons to believe you have ovarian cancer. We're not saying that. What we're saying is if you have many of these symptoms, keep a tally, make sure you're looking at it and saying, okay, you know what, I need to go and see my doctor just in case, those type of things. And also nausea. But remember, all of these symptoms could be something else. It may not necessarily be ovarian cancer, but if you notice you're having majority of these things, then you really need to be at least concerned and go and see your doctor.
But let's be honest, when you talk about having pain, pain is indicative of letting you know that there's something else going on that you may not be able to see, but it's telling you, I need to be addressed.
Absolutely.
And a lot of us, especially, you know, Black men, we like to, I'm gonna tough it out. Right. You know, I'm gonna get by this, or, you know, just people in general. I'm, you know, I'm having a little pain. Don't worry, I'll take this and I'll lay down and I'll be fine. But then when it's reoccurring, that's telling you there's something amiss.
Right. Yeah.
And it's giving you a red flag.
It is giving you a red flag. And only 19% of ovarian cancer is diagnosed in the early stages. Wow. And I think that's because a lot of people, you think of monthly, or women get their monthly. So you're thinking, oh, it's just cramping. It's just that kind of thing. But the average woman, I think between 50 and 60, that's the age where the ovarian cancer comes in and out. We're not saying that you can't get it earlier than that. We're saying that that's the average age of some of the statistics of women actually getting it. But just keep in mind, pre-screening, how do you do that? Go and see your doctor annually, having your annual checkups. It's really important. You know, and I also say that it's gene related, so it's inherited gene mutation, and you need to be aware of that. That it could be in your family, so you need to ask the doctor about those type of things. What are the tests that you can take in order to be able to know, is that something that is in my gene pool, or should I be aware of it? And if it is, then we talked about all the different things that you can do, foods and different things, exercise. We talked about your lifestyle, changing some things that you need to. You can look at previous podcasts because that's important. This is I say it's a fight, because we think that, well, that's never going to happen to me. It's one of those things that's so far beyond. But I'm telling you, I'm sitting here to you today, and I thought that cancer would never have touched me because I'm a faith believer. I believe in exercise. I believe in eating right. However, I still was abusing certain things like sugar and different things of that nature. And guess what? Just because you eat sugar doesn't mean that you're going to get cancer.
Right.
But every person is different. So you really need to consider that. Let me see. I'm going to talk to you about that too. And also, I encourage you to ask your family, because sometimes we don't like to talk about it. That's one of the reasons why this podcast is important. You may never call me. You may never call someone in your family, but you will tune in and you will listen. And that's what I'm encouraged, that you're going to tune in, you're going to listen, maybe not today, but sometime in the future. And you're going to say, wow, I'm having some of those same symptoms. I need to see the doctor today. And maybe it'll be an early detection for you where you're actually going to be in the early stages. And if not, we still have good information that later on it's not over. It's not over, because there's research out there every day. It's getting better, as well as you have faith in God. And if you don't have faith in God, continue to stay along with us, and maybe there will be an opening for you, and you'll say, wow, you know what, maybe I should start praying and have faith in God too, while I'm going through all the other things and applying the good eating habits, applying my exercise, and doing what I need to. Sometimes we think that we have to do so much, but maybe it's just those little tiny tweaks, those little small things that we can do. So let's go over some other symptoms that individuals are still having. Let's see. Oh, and also sometimes when they detect it early on, it's only a small tumor. It's not the ovarian cancer. It's just a small tumor. And so get it early, because many times they can go in there and they can remove the tumors, because remember we said they start with surgery, they go in and they remove them. And that's the best, that I think that's really the best way, go in there early and get the tumors out first. I remember when I had my second son, and I didn't have ovarian cancer, but I did have fibroids and cysts, and
which are benign tumors.
Benign tumors, exactly. And you're thinking, well, at that time, ovarian cancer was the farthest from my mind. Now, I didn't get ovarian cancer, but the point was that if I hadn't been pregnant at the time, I wouldn't even have known that I had those cysts, those fibroids. And then the doctor began to address them at that time. So think of how many of you out there are listening to us that you may even have fibroids. You may have some of these symptoms. You may have the nausea. You may have all these different things, the cramping, and you're not addressing it.
Yeah, but we thought you were having that because you were pregnant.
Exactly. And they were saying, no, it's from the fibroids.
Right. It's a byproduct of it.
Exactly.
Although it looks like
right,
you would have this during pregnancy.
Right. And another thing, if you're being, you're bloated all the time and you have constipation, those type of things, there's a reason.
Right.
A lot of times we
ignore
the
signs.
The signs. Yeah. We literally could have pain for a long period of time, and we keep shaking it off when we take Tylenol or Advil or we take this. Listen, right now, I can be honest with you guys, because I said I was going to be very authentic. Right now, after going through the chemo, after going through all that I went through, the bottom of my feet have been hurting, and the back of my feet where the tendons are. So the average person is thinking, oh, I'll just take some Tylenol and I'll be done with that, and I'll just maintain the pain. Oh, no. After going through this, Now I want to find out why it's happening,
Mm-hmm.
how can we correct it,
Mm-hmm.
and how we can get in a different place.
Yep.
So I have been talking to my physical therapist, and my physical therapist, how you doing? I'm not gonna say your name because everybody's gonna contact you, but he's been wonderful. Where now he's been giving me the actual stretching, where I can be able to stretch the back of my tendons,
Mm-hmm.
and also he is giving me some for the back of my leg area. In addition to, he's helping me on my back to recover, and my recovery is going along wonderfully.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very proactive about the healing process. Remember, faith without works. So I can believe God for the healing, but God is saying to me, okay, Cheryl, there's some practical, there's
Mm-hmm.
some human things
Mm-hmm.
you need to do. I'll take care of the supernatural, but there's some human things that you need to do. And I actually have begun doing that.
And just to reiterate what you're saying, one of the reasons that she's doing this podcast is for us to be, like you said, proactive rather than reactive.
Absolutely.
If you can get something and catch it beforehand, you won't get all the things that go along with it.
You won't.
You know, because like if you don't say you get a cold, this is everybody. You get a cold and you don't treat the cold. Well, if you don't treat the cold, eventually it'll turn into pneumonia. Which could turn into other stuff pulmonarily.
Absolutely.
So if you find out and be proactive about something prior to it becoming something more than what it was. So don't put off tomorrow what you can do today.
Absolutely. That is so true. So let's go over some more symptoms. Some of the other things, back pain. Now, keep in mind, I had back pain. I didn't have this cancer, but I had back pain. And remember, when they found my cancer for the Hodgkin's lymphoma, it was in the back. It was right behind my lungs, pressing on my lungs, which caused me to have the pneumonia, which caused other back issues.
Right.
So you got to think about it. Once you start having those symptoms, you write them down. You go in and you talk to your doctor. They can diagnose better off of how much you tell them. If you're going to leave out good information, it's really hard for anyone to diagnose that. So you have to help them out to help you out. Okay. And then I think there's the weight loss. I think this is huge. Weight loss. Many times people begin to lose weight and they haven't exercised. They're not changing their eating habits. Like they're eating the same and they're losing weight. Well, that is one of the signs of ovarian cancer in women. So if you notice that, wow, I've been losing rapid weight and I'm not even trying to lose weight, you may want to talk to your doctor about it and just tell them some of the symptoms that you're having. Does not mean you're having ovarian cancer.
Right.
It just means you need to bring it to their attention, because if you have had 3 or 4 of these symptoms, they may want to run a test for you.
There's something happening.
Something's happening.
To address it.
Exactly.
We can't just stick our heads in the sand and say, oh, that's not it. And we're going to just pray it away.
Right.
No, God calls you to do work.
Right. Faith and works. Remember, this is all about that faith and research. We want to talk about both. So, moving forward, you do that. Now, how do you detect ovarian cancer? I think that's really important, because a lot of times people say, well, I have the symptoms, I'm going to go and let's slow it down. So we want to talk about that. So the first thing, ovarian cancer truly cannot be self-diagnosed. So though you have symptoms, unless you are an actual oncologist yourself, okay? And then you still don't want to diagnose yourself. Even if you are an oncologist, you still want to have a doctor, because that's
their science.
That's their science.
That's what they do.
Right. So you want to make sure that you go to someone who's a specialist who's doing that, and let them diagnose you. Let them say those words to you, because it could be something else, not necessarily that. And what they're going to do, they're probably going to give you a CT scan. That's one of the things that I had. I had a PET scan, CT scan. I had every scan you probably think.
MRI.
Yeah, MRI.
X-ray.
And the MRI at first did not detect it. That's the thing. A year or 2 years before, which I know now, I had it longer than that year. But I had a MRI previous, and it didn't detect it. And that's because it was hiding behind my lung. And until I got an actual, the CT, the 2 scan, the 2-way X-ray. they saw a shadow. Right. See, they didn't even see it. They saw a shadow and they said, But the doctor said,
But had you not
had the pneumonia,
you never would have known.
I never would have known, even though I had pain, but I didn't. You know how we do. Okay, well, I'll just take a little Tylenol or something to get rid of that pain. I'm just under stress, you know, that kind of, and yes, stress does bring on all these things too. It's related, but still, that's not the only thing. There's something else and you need to address it. Okay. And if it's not, then just deal with the symptoms. Yeah. If it's not anything else, deal with those symptoms and get rid of the stress, get rid of whatever it is. Amen. Maybe you need to adjust your eating, but at least you're proactive in doing what you need to do. So, and the number one thing in order to detect ovarian cancer or anything, pre-screen. Getting your, you know,
that's going before. What's the name of the doctors that the women go to? Right, the
gynecologist. Yes, going to see your gynecologist yearly
on a regular.
I go and see my gynecologist in the first 3 months of the year, every year. I do not miss at all. Now, I told you before that I did miss going to get my mammograms, but I would never miss going to see my gynecologist. And they would make sure get behind me. You need to go and do that mammogram too. You need to go and do the other things. But I'm telling you now, don't miss any of them. Because now if you get in the early stages, perfect. And with the way that foods are now, we did a podcast on GMO foods versus other food. Food is not the same.
Right. It invites all other parasites and everything into your body.
Right. Even if you garden yourself, then that's wonderful.
Right.
But everybody doesn't. You go to the supermarket and hopefully you can get everything organic. But affordability, most people cannot.
Right.
So there's no guarantee that you're going to always have organic in everything that you do. And all your meats are not going to be perfect in everything that you do. So you need to at least be doing the pre-screening and doing the best that you can. So there are a couple of different screenings that I want to bring attention to you. I do not know a lot about them. And one is the transvaginal ultrasound. And that's a sand-like, what's it called? A wand, a wand-like device that they use, and they can detect some different things in your ovaries, your cervix, pelvic area. And the cost of it is on nationally about $522, but you can get it for about $200. I'm just saying in some places
with your insurance.
With your insurance. So always remember that these are things that the insurance company will definitely, as long as the doctor is saying this person has these symptoms, they need this test.
Right.
Most insurance companies will cover it.
Yep.
And so these are things that you ought to do every single year. And then the other screening is the CA-125 blood test. I actually think I've seen this one on my register when I went and got, they would do every 2 weeks blood work on me. And I believe I did see this one. And this one particularly measures the, hey, Elder Cynthia, how you doing? This one measures the actual antigens and cancer antigens in your blood. And it will let you know if it's high enough. If it's over, I think 35 or something like that, it lets you know that there's a chance you could have cancer, but not necessarily. But if you know it's in your blood and you don't have cancer, this is the perfect time for you to change eating, exercise, being proactive, pH balanced water, those type of things. And then regularly seeing your doctor. I think that's really important.
The next thing, changing your diet.
Yes, changing your diet. So once you have been diagnosed, that's the thing. Once a doctor has, told you this is what we see, the first thing that you have to do is not get anxious.
Don't panic.
You do not want to panic. You want to make sure that you remember, first of all, who are you? So if you're a faith-based person like myself, first thing you want to do is pray. You want to get in a still, quiet place, and you want to cast your cares to the Lord, and you want to pray about this. And then you want to get someone, like we've been talking about, someone in your corner, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your parent, whether it's a sibling or a best friend, you want them to be involved every step of the way. And then surround yourself with a wonderful group of people, even if it's only 2 or 3, but people around you. And like I told you in the beginning of our podcast today, there were several people, pastors across the nation
that we don't
praying
even know
for me. And I am learning about it. As soon as they found out, they were praying for me. And I'm so thankful, because we have our pastors that are praying for us. But at the same time, all these pastors across the way at their Bible studies. I have my aunt. She told me that my Aunt Edna. She told me that they Deaconess Edna Scott. She was saying that every Wednesday they prayed and they were praying for me, and I'm very thankful to them. And, just so thankful. So I made sure that she knows that anybody in there, the prayer group, if there's people that come up down the line, one of the purposes of this encouragement on fire is to all the funds that come in, the donations that come in, we're going to be helping people in the local community, Camden County, Gloucester County, New Jersey, those individuals that are going through chemo and cancer. They may have some situations that they need help. And everyone's situation is different. So we're not going to say, oh, we're just going to buy these things. No, what is it you need? Some of these people are coming home. They're going to be by themselves in their houses, and they don't have anyone to come in and clean. I was so thankful. My mother, Elder Cynthia, who was able to, just pray with me, when my husband wasn't there, or she was able to change my linens because I wasn't strong enough to do these things. So imagine coming home and you're by yourself. So even if we can pay someone through the organization to go out to their house and just to clean up for them, just to cook them a meal or bring some meals to them, because there's other services in the community and we can pick it up and bring it to them. Those are the type of things that we can do. And yes, as she said, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and of sound mind. Exactly. So we never want to be afraid of anything that we go through. And if you're a faith-based person, you cast your cares on the Lord and that he will help you through it. And other people that, you may not believe in God, but we welcome you to know the God that we know, because he did help me through my process. But we always want to keep the balance of faith and research. They are separate, but they shouldn't be, because God created, he has both of them together, and that's in us, right? It's in us. So, like I said, once you've been diagnosed, you want to make sure that there's some things that you are avoiding. Yes. So I know everybody's thinking, what should I avoid, right? What should I avoid? So remember we talked about your foods. So you want to immediately avoid red meat.
Your steaks.
Yeah, avoid them.
Your pork chops. Well, pork chops
absolutely.
Not red meat, but
and then stay away from the sugar. Remember we talked about xylitol is a good sugar. Truvia is a good sugar. There's different sugars that you can take in, and you don't have to be doing that granulated sugar to refined sugar. It's not good for you. So even if you don't have cancer, stay away from it. Right. It's just not good for you in the long run. And then also processed foods. We talked about that. The GMO, non-GMO foods, we did a whole podcast. So look back on our podcast. We did a whole thing on that. Right. But you really need to be eating healthy foods without pesticides in it. If you cannot identify the ingredients on a food, like you turn it over and it has like 20, 30 different ingredients, you shouldn't be eating it. You should be able to identify the foods. It should have like maybe 8 items or less. Right. I say 5 or less, but that's kind of hard. So, but at least 8 or less.
So tell them what a processed food would be like.
Yeah.
Ready baked food, like cheese macaroni.
Right. They make the cheese macaroni and you didn't see them make it.
Right.
And it's in the store and it's in a box.
Stuff like that.
See, when you go to the pizza place, you can see them making the pizza. Right. They're making it out of dough. Lots of times it's homemade dough. Yeah. They'll even identify it. It's homemade fresh dough. Right. And they're making their cheese. Some of them import the cheese. It's not the bad cheese. So you got to ask, what kind of cheese do you make for your pizza? There are plenty of pizza places that actually do good cheese, and their sauces are homemade.
Not necessarily the chains, but
right.
The mom and pop.
The mom and pop, right. So go to the mom and pops, because those are the ones that are cooking it from scratch. those are the ones that you can trust their items because they're telling you, yes, everything is scratched.
Plus, they're in your community anyway.
And they're in your community, exactly. Yeah. So there are other things like we were talking this week with Chuck. We were talking about nuts and everything. He got on me about my nuts, y'all. He said, "You eating them nuts with?" So they had the salt on them, and I'm not supposed to be eating that salt. So he was like, "You shame on you nothing." I said, "Yeah, I got to stop doing that." So, but I love my pistachios with the seasoning on it. But guess what? You can make your own seasoning. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get the unsalted ones, and then I'm going to create my own seasoning. I know Elder Cynthia is saying amen. Mm-hmm. I'm going to create my own seasoning. If I have to shake it up in a bag and then eat it, and that would be healthier for me. But no one's perfect. What we're saying is small changes is what you have to do. And
and one of the things I would say to everybody, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what illness, no matter what disease, sickness, whatever, be open to hear what people that have the wisdom and knowledge in that junction or that community, be open to hear it. Yeah. Don't just say, well, no, I don't have that. No, that can't be me. Be open. Please be open, because they are trying to give you something that you need. Mm-hmm. And if you defer it or say you don't have that, I don't believe that, well, they're not, you're the only one that's going to get affected by it. Yeah. So it's up to us to take heed to what they're trying to tell us.
Yeah. And everyone, we're here to encourage you.
Yes.
That is why we're doing this every single week. We're going to encourage you. I told you guys, my goal is 52 weeks. If I'm going to go beyond that, then that's the will of God. If it's not, then I know this 52 weeks is going to help many of you, whether you're live with us now or in the future. Mm-hmm. You're going to be watching. But we're going to end today. We are so happy that you decided to tune in with us. And again, this is Encouragement on Fire. I'm Shirley Farrar. This is my husband, Pastor Darrell. And we are going to be back again next Sunday and the Sunday after that. And if you come to our Facebook group, Encouragement on Fire, I'll let you in the group so you can see all of the statistics, all of the different information that we talk about each and every week. Because this is really, it's not about one person. This is about each and every one of you out there that, you're not alone. There's somebody walking right along with you. Amen. Okay. All right. So again, Encouragement on Fire, Sunday nights on YouTube. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.